From this episode that had Homer kill an innocent lady to this episode, Bart went through child abuse. These are 9 of the darkest Simpsons episodes that will make you feel dead inside. Alone Again, Natura Diddley. And speaking of Homer killing an innocent lady, it all happened in the episode Alone Again, Natura Diddley. Natura Diddley. And the innocent lady is none other than Ned Flanders. This episode starts out with the Simpsons discovering an oval racing track built around a bird sanctuary, and when they enter, they find that Ned and his family are there. Soon after, a t-shirt cannon appears and Homer forcibly requests one, but he ducks to pick up a bobby pin as it fires towards him.
Bobby pin! Maud?
This act causes Maud to get shot by the t-shirt cannon, get knocked over the railing of a Speedway spectator stand, and ultimately fall to her death. Her death is so sudden, and the fact that she died from something as a t-shirt cannon makes this quite dark. However, Maud's demise isn't the only unsettling aspect of the episode. We also witness the deeply religious Ned Flanders completely shatter and abandon his faith. This is particularly dark and disconcerting, as religion has always been a fundamental part of Ned's identity. There's also the disturbing realization that comes from the fact that Homer Simpson is very much responsible for manslaughter.
I'm the one who drove her out of her seat. I'm the one who provoked the lethal barrage of t-shirts. I'm the one who parked in the ambulance zone, preventing any possible resuscitation.
And while that is dark, it doesn't compare to how disturbing it is to have your place of domestic safety invaded by a hostile threat. Some Enchanted Evening. And that concept was fully explored in the episode Some Enchanting Evening. The story follows Bart and Lisa as they're left with this evil babysitter named Miss Lucille Botskowski, while Marge and Homer enjoy a romantic night out. While watching TV, the kids learn from a true crime show that their babysitter is actually a dangerous criminal. When she realizes they know her secret, she ties them up. This dark twist contrasts sharply with the show's cheerful, cartoonish style, creating a constant sense of dread. Thank goodness this wasn't the pilot episode as the producers originally planned. Who knows? It might have been too dark for the world to really love The Simpsons for the cheerful and funny show that it is. Anywho, the kids fortunately managed to outsmart the villain, but in a twist, Homer and Marge unknowingly set her loose into the world, leaving everyone unsure of when she might strike again.
We're so sorry. We're so sorry.
Please turn off the TV.
This is a dreadful idea in a really well-made episode. As such, the domestic horror feels palpable. As if that's not dark enough, this babysitter is a parody of Gertrude Baniszewski, who was infamous for the 1965 abuse, torture, and murder of Sylvia Likens. The Boys of Bummer. The next dark episode on our list is the 18th season's episode, The Boys of Bummer. The episode practically centers around the entire population of Springfield abusing Bart simply over a lousy baseball game. Trust me, the hate was really intense, and that's what makes this episode so dark. The people did not stop abusing Bart even when he was about to unalive himself. Matter of fact, they even egged him on when he tried to do it.
I hate Bart Simpson!
I got him. I got him.
You stink, Laboot!
Damn it.
And when Bart falls into a coma, they don't stop mocking him. They continue to verbally abuse him until Marge furiously puts the entire town into shame for their cruelty towards him. Even though this episode was intended to be 100% for laughs, the absurdity of everyone getting upset over children's sport and the consequences that followed were quite unsettling to fathom. Especially if you consider that losing a baseball game is not even the worst crime Bart has committed. A worser crime would be killing Martin Prince. Dial N for Nerder. And that all went down in the season 19's episode Dial N for Nerder.
Martin! Oh my God!
Dial N for Nerder follows Bart and Lisa as they try to cover up what they think is Martin's accidental death. While at a national park, Bart plays a prank that causes Martin to fall onto a small ledge on a cliff. When Lisa tries to help him with a stick, she accidentally pushes him off, and he falls. Believing they've killed him, the siblings are consumed by guilt throughout the episode. A darker element is Bart's urge to go to the police, which Lisa discourages, urging him to keep it a secret. This is surprising for her character, as it flips the usual roles of Bart as the troublemaker and Lisa as the sensible one. Although it's later revealed that Martin survived, this episode remains one of the most unsettling moments in The Simpsons. Treehouse of Horror 5. An even darker episode would be the 5th Treehouse of Horror episode, where Principal Skinner and Lunch Lady Doris wanted to eat the students sent to detention. In the episode, the teachers become cannibals after tasting human children's flesh, so they devour children and gradually lose their humanity, growing fatter in the process. Whew, thank goodness this wasn't a canon event.
This sandwich tastes so young and impudent.
With only a few students left, Willie attempts to help Bart, Lisa, and Milhouse escape, but Skinner ends up killing him. The whole situation then escalates when Bart and Lisa fall into a giant food processor. This segment was so dark the writers had to provide a twist. The entire story is Bart's nightmare. But even with that twist, we still get a very disturbing ending where the Simpson family gets turned inside out by a fog. Homer's Odyssey. And while that's so dark, it's just not as dark as Homer's Odyssey is. This episode from season 1 has Homer attempt to commit suicide because he feels that he has failed his family by not finding a job after getting fired for the first time. Besides these two elderly neighbors who crack this joke,
Oh, looks like young Simpson is going to kill himself.
No, maybe not. Maybe he's just taking his boulder for a walk.
Oh.
this episode was so not meant to be for laughs. Thankfully, Homer doesn't go through with it and instead decides to become a safety advocate after saving his family from being run over on a dangerous street. The idea of a suicide is really sad, and what made it so horrible was that it was our beloved Homer who wanted to do it. Not only was this episode about Homer, but it also mirrored what happens in the minds of fathers across the world who feel inadequate. That's what makes this episode unsettling to watch. A more unsettling episode would be Cape Fear. Cape Fear. This episode is delightfully dark from the beginning. It sees the cackling convict Sideshow Bob become obsessed with killing Bart after Bart foiled his plans to kill Selma and frame Krusty for a crime he never committed. The episode starts with Bart receiving several death threats from Sideshow Bob. Bart's increasingly scared and paranoid behavior sets up some clever jokes, while still being a dark premise. The Simpsons go under witness protection, change their name, and relocate to a houseboat, although Sideshow Bob continues to chase after him. That night, Bob ties up the family and traps them, with the exception of Bart, whom he chases after with a knife. Bart only makes it out alive at the end because of some Bond villain stupidity on Bob's part. Bob's relentless determination to murder his arch nemesis makes Cape Fear one of the most disturbing Simpsons episodes. Additionally, the title and darker tone of the episode, as well as Sideshow Bob's attempts to get his revenge on Bart, take inspiration from the classic thriller Cape Fear. The Crepes of Wrath. The Simpsons' early years featured some edgy material, and a case in point is The Crepes of Wrath. In this dark episode, Bart participates in Springfield Elementary's foreign exchange program and swaps places with an Albanian student named Adil. Bart ends up at a vineyard owned by Caesar in Agulin, where his treatment is far from pleasant. The portrayal of Bart's struggles is particularly harsh, as he's subjected to grueling labor, forced to carry heavy buckets of water, crush grapes, and is denied food, even having to sleep on the floor.
The floor is good enough for you. You go to sleep there.
This episode is considered one of the most unsettling in The Simpsons, as Bart's mistreatment by the wine merchants is child abuse in its purest form, and that's really difficult for some viewers to watch. Homer. Leading us to the most disturbing episode, episode 4 of season 29, which saw Homer mutilate himself piece by piece, all to fill his belly.
Opa!
This was so disturbing to watch on so many fronts, and I gotta warn you, this is not for the squeamish. First, Homer accidentally chopped off his finger, which ended up on the grill. Surprisingly, he then found himself delicious and began experimenting with various ways to cook his own body parts, including using a cheese grater on his head and a corkscrew in his ear for pastry icing. In the end, Homer's left with nothing but his upper body and a divorce from Marge. It gets even worse when his head gets cooked, and then the whole of Springfield eats pieces of him. Even Bart eats Homer's tiny brain.
Do you know what it's like to have everyone eat of your body?
Well, do you know what it's like to subscribe to my channel? Why not find out and click that subscribe button?